MP Varinder Kumar.
Deputy Speaker, sir. Honorable Deputy Speaker, sir. Only one or two points to make. I heard with rapt attention the Honorable Minister Mani Shankar's intervention that he spoke. As my colleague now said, he was picturing the past, how glorious it was. He said he had wonderful relationship during 7 days. That is the experience. And who was the president of Iraq? It was Saddam Hussein who was the president of Iraq. Now what is Saddam Hussein? What has happened to him? He is born before a government created by America and not handed over legally, just produced before a court, a puppet court, in chains. Saddam Hussein was the ruler, president of Iraq. He is before a puppet government in chains. He is taken like a dog. And have you ever condemned that? At least what I said, Saddam Hussein had a wonderful relationship with us. His government had a relationship with us. And Mani Shankar also said, we never used to talk in terms of 10 or 20 crores or thousands of crores. If that was the relationship Iraq had with us, and he also qualified it with one, he said, it was a secular relationship. If that was what Saddam Hussein was, if that was the relationship he kept with us, how come now we never had one word of condemnation what America have done to him? Secondly, he said, after the United Nations resolution, situation have changed. What is the changed situation in Iraq now? Because, as just now Honorable Omar have said, United Nations just stamped the occupation of America on Iraq. That's all. What they have done. Endorsed it. And Bush, because he's an American president, because he's facing an election, had his diplomatic maneuvering in Europe, and he almost succeeded in going to bring NATO forces also to Iraq. This was compounded now. When the United Nations justified and stamped Americans' occupation, after that, the NATO also was going to come to Baghdad. And moreover, 150,000 troops of the United States, plus Britain, plus some other countries, they are not under the present government of Halabi. They are controlled by the United States. And the government doesn't have a control over the security, or the police, or the military, or of the military, occupation army. What type of government is that? How can we say the situation of far changed after the United Nations resolution? The situation became worst. And sir, we say we are going to train people to exploit oil in Basra or somewhere. That's what Honorable Mani Shankar has said. After Kuwait occupation by Iraq, that's where the entire war was waged by America. America had a wonderful relation with Saddam Hussein. Halliburton, the oil company, Dick Cheney was the vice president of Halliburton, and now he's the vice president of the United States. He was doing oil business. He did a maximum business in Iraq after the Kuwait occupation, after the Kuwait war. And how come there was a strained relationship? After Iran, now against the charges brought against Saddam Hussein, Iran is not listed. 8-year war against Iran is not a problem. Why? After the Iran war, U.S. Secretary termed Saddam Hussein as the savior of Middle East. He never condemned Saddam Hussein. Who instigated the war against Iran? Now they talk of Saddam Hussein engineering the killing of Kurdish in Fallujah or somewhere. Now it has been conclusively said by the American intelligence agencies, it was done by Iran. They never had the mustard seed, so some gas, mustard gas and all that. Iran never had it. Iraq never had it. Apart from all that, if he is to be tried on the crimes he has done against Kurdish people, against Shia, or against anybody, why Iran is not brought in? Because when he attacked Iran, he was the good books of United States. So the occupation is not for what human right violation they have done. The occupation is for the interest of the United States. Now, when we go to explore oil in Basra, are we working for Halliburton Company? Sir, I read a report that Al Gharib jail, where all these atrocious things have happened against President from Guantanamo to right there, whatever happened. This government when America wanted to destroy the jail, the present American created government did not give the nod. Why? The moment it is destroyed, some American multinational company will rebuild it. The money goes to them. Now they are talking of reconstruction of Iraq. From the American Congress, how many billions of dollars George W. Bush got for the reconstruction of Iraq? Not even 2.5% is sent to the reconstruction of Iraq. The entire money for the reconstruction of Iraq have to come from their own resources. Iraq is bled. And what's the great thing United States will talk about? Sir, there are three things they said. They wanted to convince the world. All the three reasons are now proved to be incorrect. One, the weapons of mass destruction, right from the Blink's time, when United Nations sent the observer, he made an exhaustive report. It comes as a book now. It's in the market. And then the intelligence report, the Tenet who resigned, his report, all these have proved there was no weapons of mass destruction. There's one reason given. Second, 9/11 issue. That Saddam Hussein has some links for the destruction of the World Trade Center. Now the American intelligence, it is right, or some Senate committee, it is not right. Then said they had connection with Al-Qaeda. And now it is so conclusively proved that not only that, Iraq never, not only that they had no relation with Al-Qaeda, but Saddam Hussein did never have anything to do with Al-Qaeda in their ideas. This is what happened in Iraq. Now, the entire occupation of the United States is for their interest. The interest of the multinationals. Now, all the army is taught by Iraqis. The Shias or Sunnis or Kurds, whoever they are united in one thing. They want to fight out these people. And Iraq people now will never tolerate American troops. Why we should be a party to whitewash what United States is doing? What United States is doing is against humanity. Tomorrow they can do to any other country. Do they have any right, sir, just to put a man in chains for the president of the country and they can tomorrow take anybody in chains? And we cannot just say we have no business to whitewash what America have done. In course, we must condemn what America have done. It is imperialism nakedly coming everywhere. Thank you, sir.
Next, Shri Roop Chand Pal ji. Roop Chand Pal ji.
I shall be very brief, sir. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, after this India government has been removed from power by the people of this country.
Virendra Kumar.
I am coming from the district of Wayanad, where the suicides have been the highest. Sir, I would like to know, for the last 5 years, the prices of coffee and pepper is sliding down. From 67 rupees 5 years back, it is 17 rupees now per kg. And pepper also, all the crops. Here what you have said, the principal amount will be clubbed with the interest amount. Now there is outstanding. This principal amount plus the interest. Here the OTS what you say, you are clubbing both. Then the interest amount plus the overdue amount including interest becomes the principal amount. And on that principal amount they are again charging interest. How can they pay? What is the relief in this? What is the precise relief we are going to give the farmers?
Yes.
First of all, absolutely prices are not remunerated, is coming down. There is no. Secondly, the suicides are there because they cannot pay the amount.
Yes.
Now in these relief measures, you have made them to pay interest again on the compound interest.
Okay.
Now, interest because the principal amount.
You have made your
What
point.
is the relief, sir?
Yes.
Especially in Wayanad area.
Yes, Mr. Minister.
Sir, I would request Honourable Member, who's very well versed in matters of finance, to kindly read paragraph 10, subparagraphs 1, 2, 3 and 4 of the agricultural credit package. This is the best relief that I could give under the circumstances. But as I said, after reviewing this, after giving this a fair chance, we will review this and we will try to see what can be done. It is not correct to say no relief has been granted. This package has been well received, and let us see in implementation how much relief actually flows.
You said that same thing. Please put a different supplementary. Same thing is being repeated. Sri Prabhunath Singh. Not on the same thing. बैठिए ना. Yes. श्री MP वीरेंद्र कुमार, उनसे एक लाइन लिखा के ले आए. एक लाइन लिखा के बोला. एक लाइन.
Honorable Speaker,
It is very brief, please,
Yeah, very
to the
brief.
point. Yes.
in the state of Kerala, the entire plantation industry is in
आप
doldrums.
लोग काहे नहीं बैठते भाई?
And I want to draw the attention of the House about one district, which is the smallest in Kerala, which is known as Wayanad district, where the large number of tea estates, plantations are closed. In the Wayanad district, one Assam plantations and Padur plantations, very large tea plantations are closed for 8-9 months. And thousands of workers don't have job. And about 92 people have already committed suicide in a small district. It's only 700,000 people. Only 700,000 people. And the prices are sliding down. And there are about 100,000 farmers who cultivate pepper, coffee. They are in real trouble. Alarmingly, prices are sliding down. Large plantations are closed. People have no work. It's a tribal districts. Government must look into the matter because the smallest district has the largest number of suicides because of this. This matter needs the consideration of the central government. Sir,
Please.
for the last 4 days, 3 people have died. One Johnny, Vasu, Ramachandran, all small farmers who could not pay their debts. So the plantations are closed. About 100,000 agriculturists are in trouble. Laborers have no job. And the government have very seriously considered this matter. The smallest backward district of 700,000 people in Kerala is the
Yes.
largest number of
लालू जी
suicides.
को बुलाइए.
The matter of urgent concern, the government, sir. Thank you, Speaker.
श्री आनंद मोल्ला.
Thank you, sir. Sir,
Arun
I
Sudhi.
like to raise a very serious problem of the state of West Bengal. You know, sir, the
खत्म हो गया,
Sir,
खत्म.
Congress-
बोलने का समय दिया।
Honorable Member MP Virendra Kumar.
Chairman, I won't take much time. Just to bring some points to the attention of the government. In Kerala, the drought and the flood situation are always serious. But very unfortunately, it is not reflected in any of the reports given by those people who come and visit our state. Today during the question hour, the Honorable Minister said that issues are different in various states. What is in Rajasthan is not true in Kerala. Somebody coming from Rajasthan, they see in Kerala everything green, a lot of water, a lot of greenery. And they conclude there's no problem. It is not true. Just to convince those people who comes to inspect our state, we cannot make our Kerala look like a desert, cutting off all trees and greenery, and look so barren so that justice will be done to us. What happens now, sir, Chairman? In any other states, any relief given could be used for that year, and there could be the succor could be given. In Kerala, except few districts, in almost all the districts, there's perennial crop. Now, in my state, in my district where I come from, the maximum number of suicides, Wayanad district, every day almost a suicide is taking place. And last drought, what happened? The coffee, pepper vines, and all such, and arecanut, all were totally destroyed. Now, to revive them take 5 to 8 years. They have to replant it. In between, another drought can come. Again, they may be destroyed. It is not the case where the perennial crops are not there. The perennial crops are not there. Whatever money is given could be utilized for that year, and next year there will be results. In Kerala, that result is not there. There's one problem. Kerala government, I don't think they have put their case the way it should be. They have their own problem. I don't want to comment about the inefficiency of our government. We wanted 3,847 crores. It's a total loss. What's that? We got 78.04. And even that somebody says it's too much money given to the state, which is not true. So in Kerala, it's a peculiar situation where the whole parameters which they use to say whether they want to assess the droughts or floods is totally different, because topography is different, the landscape is different, everything is different as far as Kerala is concerned. Sir, there is another problem. In those areas, especially in two districts, a lot of people are committing suicide. Why? Because they cannot repay the debts they have borrowed. From debts, they are going to more debts. Prices are sliding down because of the drought also have caused all these problems. Nature also have been against us. And they cannot repay the debts at all. And now just to say by OTAs, by one-term settlement, you can say, what you are doing is you are making them to pay interest for interest also, making it a principal amount. So these things are very compounded. And one more thing, I'm closing it. Now in drought situation, there's a very comical thing happening in one of the districts. Groundwater, it has been pointed out here, and I'm sure, sir, Chairman, the next war is going to be on water. We know what's happening in Punjab, what's happening elsewhere in India. Water is a problem. Groundwater depletion is a very great problem. Last drought, what was happening, every drought in Palghat district, for example, was very badly hit by drought. Two multinational companies, Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola, are draining the groundwater to the tune of 1 million liters or more a day. And for the people of that area, water is given in trucks. And not a single penny is paid to the government. Groundwater is depleted, ducts are elsewhere. It takes thousands of years for the replenishing the groundwater. And right there in Chittoor or Palghat or Pudukkottai Pachamara, where Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola factories are there, the drain water and sell Aquafina and Kinley in Palghat. The people of Palghat are drought-stricken. Priorities are not given for agriculture. Priority is given for whom? Those people who take groundwater, exploit groundwater and sell to those people right in Palghat as Aquafina and Kinley. There was a water conference, World Water Conference right in Pachamara, and which is known as Declaration of Water. Water is right, not as a commodity. So in drought-stricken areas, the water management, of course we know it is a state subject. National water policy also it is set that priority should be given to agriculture. Sir, Chairman, it is not given to agriculture. It is given to multinationals. So water management also is a big problem. In short, I want to conclude that today we are happy that the Honorable Minister told us he'll be sending a special team. There will be different parameters to judge what is happening in Kerala. And also he'll be calling a meeting of all MPs from Kerala to discuss the special drought issue vis-a-vis from the point of view of what is happening in Kerala. We are happy about it. But sir, the government of India must consider Kerala is a part of India. How much is our contribution to India for foreign exchange? Whether it's a cash crop or people going from outside. And we are getting a very bad deal, and we have started feeling that we are not, Kerala problem is not considered as a national issue. Sometimes we feel we don't belong, we are not even considered as a part of India. It should be corrected, and measures should be taken to see that people of Kerala don't suffer because of the neglect of central government and also because of the inefficiency of the state government. Thank you.
Sri Ramdas Atalvi.
सभापति जी बाढ़ और सूखे पर
Honorable MP Virendra Kumar.
Chairman, sir, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. At the outset, I would like to agree with Honorable Member Sudhakar Reddy. The lending institution, whether it's IMF, World Bank or ADB, cannot dictate to us what we should do, especially in the field of water, electricity generation. It's an experience in Kerala that ADBA tells the government that electricity should be bought to the private sector. It's not their business, our business to decide. I don't want to talk much, sir, because almost all the aspects have been covered here. I want to talk about the renewable energy, unconventional sources, renewable energy sector. The sector has already made its contribution to total installed power capacity and the deployment of decentralized energy system. Power generation capacity on renewable resources rose from 36 megawatt to 1,186 megawatt in March 1997 and 3,510 in March 2002. It represents 3.5% of the total installed power capacity from all sources. Achievement of this sector is admirable, particularly considering the fact that it received attention only since early 1980. Statistics shows that the renewable energy sector, over a span of 2 decades, has contributed more power than the nuclear power sector, which could cover over a period of 5 years, contributed only 2,720 megawatts of electricity. World over, there is a tendency to go for this source for power generation. In fact, European community has projected 22% share for renewable power sources in total electricity production by 2010. The reason is simple. There is dwindling reserves of fossil fuels and environmental hazards of excessive use of the fossil fuels. Big hydroelectric power projects are not environmentally sound. That's what experts say. So is the case with nuclear power projects also. So I don't dwell on that, sir. India now ranks 6th in the world in wind power capacity, 4th in deployment of solar photovoltaics, SPV, devices, and 3rd in production of SPV system. It's economically viable and cost-effective technology. Solar energy generation. I think, sir, what central government gave the directive that state governments should amend the building bylaws to make mandatory provisions of solar water heating systems in some particular types of buildings. I don't want to quote all the reports about it, because the same way biogas plants, it's rurally oriented, it will help. I don't want to quote the statistics because of time, but I want to say one thing about small hydroelectric projects, especially what's happening in my state of Kerala. So in Kerala, in 1996, the electricity board started its first 3 megawatt small hydropower project. So far, we have 10 such projects functioning under public sector with installed capacity of 72.0 megawatts, 2 megawatts. In 1998, we decided to go in for technical collaboration with China, where these small projects have become a roaring success. So here I will quote the United Nations, 1 minute. The United Nations Industrial Development Corporations have recommended the Chinese model for small hydropower developments as touchstone for alternative energy program in developing countries. The great success in China, so because of constraint of time, I don't want to quote the figures here. So what we did in Kerala, we have identified some projects, and in 1998 we decided to go in for technical collaboration with China. I just told you, sir. The agreement arrived at for building 18 such projects. We have so far completed. Sir, I tell you one example. I told the electricity minister of Kerala to visit this area, which is Tiruvambadi, my constituency village. Yes, sir. I just your honorable minister's notice, because when Lakshadweep can just come in there any time. The State Electricity Board in Kerala is not showing any enthusiasm to attend to the technical problems faced by some of the small hydro projects. A project near Calicut, that is Tiruvambadi, at Urumi, a Urumi project they call it, was highly successful project with the help of Chinese collaboration, but in the current rainy season, it developed problem and part of it is destroyed. So bad construction and bad management Nobody is bothered about it. Nobody wants power generation from small hydroelectric projects. And all our representatives said, come and visit the place at least. Nobody have done it. And I request the Honorable Minister to come and see the place. Sir, we have identified 198 locations for small hydroelectric projects with a capacity for 466.85 megawatt. However, we find a lack of enthusiasm among the power managers of the state. The projects already executed are having problems with power purchase agreements, the state electricity boards, and unwillingness of the state governments to buy power in the peak production season. Sir, in this I want to bring to notice how the whole mindset is for big projects. Silent Valley issue came in 70s. Mrs. Gandhi then, she intervened. We know about that whole Silent Valley issue. Ultimately, shelved, this was stopped. It had world attention, and about Silent Valley, I need not here give a comment to this MG came in a report, and that's a biosphere which is precious to the world. So Silent Valley were dropped. Now, they are bringing on Patra Kadao Paddhati, 3 kilometers right from whole Silent Valley. Sir, how the engineers, how these experts do people, how they deceive people. I tell you one example. In the river Kunti, that's the river flowing from there, which have no dam so far. 1 minute, Chairman, because Honorable Minister is listening to me. Now they say, 20 years back, the flow of water was 293 cubic meter. It was flowing. Everybody knows in Kerala, because of the less rainfall and lot of environmental problem, the water doesn't flow as much as it was 20 years back. Now the engineers do say 498 cubic meters water is flowing through this river after 22 years. It is just to spend 400 to 500 crores of rupees to produce 70 megawatt electricity. So 198 minor projects which have been identified, many of them half completed. They invest about 100 crores, they can produce more than 300 megawatts of electricity. They don't want to do it. They want to spend 500 crores and go for Patra Kadao Paddhati in Silent Valley. Sir, I would request the Honorable Minister to study the whole impact of what would happen. As far as the whole Silent Valley issue, I don't want to bring it here. Vis-a-vis, what argument they are bringing that 70 megawatt, it is a huge dam, it's 16 meter high or something like that. It's considered as a big dam, it's not necessary there. I only said this because the Patra Kadao Paddhati, now recommended by the Government Electricity Board of Kerala, is just to please high bureaucrats. Big amount, big investment, big projects. They don't want more electricity, they want more investment. Sir, 26.5% is the transmission loss. High Court said in Kerala, in one of the judgments, first to reduce your transmission loss. Suppose 10% is reduced, 5% is reduced, how much electricity we will have? Nobody is bothered. Before the Electricity Regulation Committee, they said by 2003-2004, they will reduce the transmission loss by 3.73%. Has anybody cared for that? Is anybody caring for what to do with transmission loss? Nobody is worried about it. Nobody worried about small projects. Sir, it's my submission that the government must give thrust for power generation, not from the big, as a supplement from these sources of small hydro projects, solar energy, wind energy, and such unconventional sources, so that it could be supplanted. This is my humble request, sir. And the electricity bill, I totally agree with the Honorable Member. We have to stop this giving everything away of our country to somebody with no concern to our nation. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes. Dharmendra Pradhan.
Chairman, sir.
I will not allow, I will look into it. Yes, Mr. Virendra Kumar.
Kerala has the right to information.
Mr. Virendra Kumar.
Honorable
Media
Speaker.
information is prevented from
You have made your point. You have made your point.
So, by humble submission,
You have made
That
your
right
point.
will have to be protected, and there must be
The Honorable
You have
Speaker,
made
sir,
your
must
point.
be
No,
a law to prevent
Mr.
such
Virendra
occurrence.
Kumar's statement will
So
be.
I bring the matter to the concern of this House.
the Honorable Speaker,
for
sir.
giving adequate protection to the press people.
So, Honorable Speaker,
There
sir.
must be given protection, and we will have to legislate on that issue. Otherwise, there will be
Yes.
no end of the matter.
Okay.
Honor-
I
Mr.
request the
Virendra
Honorable
Kumar.
Speaker
Yes, yes, sir.
to take immediate steps to give protection to the pressmen, especially in Kerala.
Honorable Speaker, sir, I would request the Honorable Speaker to make an inquiry why Abdullah Kuti is not allowed to come to the House today. Yesterday his house was attacked, was prevented from going somewhere, and along with that, the attack on the press is continuing unabatedly. A parliament member is prevented from coming to the House. I think that must be inquired into. So that's a serious matter.
That is, I've already said this is a matter, a member of parliament, if he is in inconvenience or there is any problem, I shall find out and have already directed an inquiry. Yes, then Sri Karunakaran, please.
Attack on press.
Sri Virendra Kumar. Yes.
Honorable Minister, Honorable Speaker, sir, I would like to know, now you have initiated a study for Ahmedabad, Mumbai. See, now the Varanparam container is coming. There is a lot of traffic congestion in Cochin, in Kerala. Will you initiate a study to have a bullet train in the metropolitan area of Cochin, in Kerala?
Yes.
Oh no, just because Varanparam, the traffic congestion is more than sir.
As I mentioned earlier, the development study is now taken, the route between Bombay and Ahmedabad. Depending on its success, we will be able to identify the routes in whole of India, and maybe your Cochin, etc.,
Kochi is far
will be taken
away.
up later.
Kochi is far away, yes. Ram Kripal Jadhav.
Mr. Virendra, MP.
Yes,
Mr. Virendra.
Mr. Virendra Kumar.
Honorable Speaker, sir, I support the government's decision to repeal the Porter Bill and also introducing another one. Sir, it has been the practice, our practice, that whenever a law is made, it is misused, and everybody, we talk of misuse, and it's repeated. So just an example, we were all victims of law. During
Yes.
emergency, they talked of MISA. And they said MISA will now be used against political workers, public workers. It's only against anti-nationals or black marketers. But what happened? Even Jayaprakash Narayan, right down, everybody were in prison. No review committees. And the review committees were held and people were continuous in prison. It was a ritual. Not that anybody wanted to go into the spirit of law and see that human rights are preserved, the freedom is guaranteed. It is not so. Then came NSA, TADA, Porter, and it has been the experience. I don't want to narrate because it's already said here.
Yes.
Sir, can a member of parliament be so helpless as Vaiko was? He was arrested at the Porter. And what could those my friends sitting there could do about it? Why was he in prison? What was the terrorist act he did? Why should it be under Porter? If a member of parliament have no security, absolutely no defense against this law, what about the common man? Sir, is it not very sad to note that thousands of people are languishing in jail? Under Porter, children are arrested, children are jailed, and I don't want to talk about Gujarat, because we know what happened in Gujarat. Out of all the people arrested in Gujarat, I think 99% belong to one community. And is it, they are the only terrorists? Some friends from there said we had to take lessons from Powell about terrorism, what he said. Sir, United Nations mandate, is it binding on us? Should it be? Is the same thing is continuing everywhere in the world?
Yes. Sir.
What has Powell done in Iraq, sir? What they are doing in Palestine? The terrorism have different manifestations. You have got the root cause of it. You cannot take the last link from the chain and say, this is all. It is not so. Terrorism could now, with all this might, could that be suppressed? We have a different situation here. People are driven to various positions. There are reasons for that. Even the present law, as it is of bringing this prevention, that the new act of UPA.
Yes.
I think the entire thing is replanted here. I honestly feel it must go to standing committee as is. It cannot be accepted. One more thing, sir. I will quote another thing for Tamil Nadu.
Please.
I am just concluding, sir.
Yes.
6.5 years, one Mr. Madani is in jail. First he was arrested in some section. Then when they could not keep him in jail, they used NSA, National Security Act. 6.5 years without trial, and all other people are given parole, they are out of jail. That man is now languishing in jail in Tamil Nadu. It's all violation of human rights. So when we say that this POTA, some friends were saying that this POTA is withdrawal against civilization. Is civilization killing children, innocent people, denying human rights? You heard the Honorable Member of Manipur. What's happening in Manipur? Who is responsible for that? Can we sit just say we don't see all these things? What's happening in this country? By law and military and by terrorist act could be.
Please conclude. Please conclude. Please.
So I'm concluding, sir.
Yes, thank you.
This POTA bill we support it, but other bill must go to standing committee.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Sri Ganeshan. Please be brief. We haven't got much time. Yes, I'm sure you will cooperate.
Mr. Speaker, sir.
5 minutes only, Virendra Kumar ji, just 5 minutes.
I won't take much time, sir. I don't want to repeat anything. I was really amazed by your statement, Honorable Member, that India must be a superpower. It is true we must be a superpower, and we would like to be a superpower, except that it is a superpower. I want to quote an instance just brought by Talbot, not by the government. You see, if you are a superpower, who is a superman? Defense Minister is a superman. Our great defense minister went to the United States, George Fernandez. He was bodily checked. And I asked George Fernandez myself, he was my old colleague, what happened in the United States? He just told me what will happen. He has to lift his hand, he has to show himself, take his shoes. And the defense minister of India had to go to the immigration of the United States and remove his shoes and show them that, that he is not a security threat. Where is the superpower concept of ours? So recently, I take another example. We went to Commonwealth Union Speakers Conference. Somnath Chatterjee, our Honorable Speaker, was leading us. Do you know what he told the United States? The immigration? If I am bodily checked, I am the Speaker of the greatest democracy in the world, I will never enter your country. And we are honored to go with him. Sir, people like us, a member of parliament, right in Newark, in New Jersey, asked to remove our shoes. And we did it because we are a superpower. We had to do that. It's a superpower concept. So another thing, sir, we talk about that we should now, that America is taking advantage of us. Okay. Should we accept hegemony? What is the agreement on agriculture? $375 billion is being given subsidy to the farmers, the domestic subsidy. Now we concluded our great deliberations from Geneva. Did we just convince United States that they cannot continue this policy? America always looks at their safeguard. They have their policy, they have their law, they have their vision, everything. But they have a policy for the country, for their own. Do we have that policy except subjugation? Another one more point, sir. Terrorism. You said America is meeting terrorism. Who created terrorism? Osama bin Laden is a creation of America.
Please address the chair, don't address him.
No,
address the chair.
I'm looking.
Just refer to the points made by members, but address the chair, not him.
I'm sorry, Chairman. I'm very sorry.
No, please don't interrupt him. Swainji, you've had your turn, please.
Osama bin Laden was trained by America, and he was
Nothing else excepting what the Honorable Speaker, member is speaking should go on.
Yeah. He was trained by America, sent to Afghanistan to fight Soviet Union. That man becomes a terrorist now for America. Sir, after the Iran fight, Baghdad had, Iraq and Iran fought. After the conclusion of the battle, the Foreign Secretary of America said, Saddam Hussein is the savior of Middle East. How many people were dead in Iran? Even when of the Kuwait war, the entire the attack on Baghdad, the Vice President of the United States, who was heading Halliburton Company, was having business with Baghdad. What I say is, let us not do terrorism, and since America is America is creating terrorism. America is the greatest terrorist in Iraq, in Palestine, wherever. And sir, here, but one more thing, I don't have much time to talk about, we talk of Pakistan. So for both the governments, unfortunately, we want some crisis with Pakistan. Either Pakistan wants with us, we want with Pakistan. It's always used for political exigencies. I remember what Dr. Rohia Saab used to say, we all worked with him, that we should talk of Indo-Pak Confederation. We must address the people of Pakistan. We don't want a long crisis. America wants it. Sir, they have accepted America as a NATO power, Pakistan. They're giving them arms. They're giving you arms. The biggest war machinery is run by America. They are giving arms to us, to Pakistan. They're giving arms to Iraq and Iran. They're giving arms to Afghanistan, everybody. And they are creating the entire world crisis. Sir, we don't want to accept hegemony. Of course, it is true. It's a unipolar world. We have to have a policy where we should have a say. Subjugation cannot be a policy. Accepting hegemony cannot be a policy. Sir, Abdul Gamal Nasser had the courage to take Suez Canal because India backed him. It's our foreign policy which created that issue in Egypt, isn't it? We must have a policy with honor. We must have a policy not for hegemony or acceptance of superpowers and just be treated for their objective. Sir, I am closing now. Sir, I am thinking, take the Kyoto Protocol. Who is creating the affluence in the world, sir? I am closing now. Who is creating it? Who is global? What's the reason of global warming? Sir, America is going to be the first victim of the global warming within 25 years, 30 years. We are not responsible for global warming. Bangladesh is not responsible for global warming. The United States is responsible for global warming. They went to Kyoto Protocol. Do we have a say against it? So I don't say that we have to fight with the United States, not at all. We have to keep the relation with the United States with honor. Sir, African countries, Latin American countries, now the Venezuela election have taken place. We know what's happening in Venezuela. We know what's happening in Mexico. The entire Latin American country, because of the hegemony of the United States, we have to unite all those forces. We have to be the leaders of African countries. We have to bring all those Latin American countries who are really fighting with the grouse and grievance against the superpower. And we have to go to the people of Palestine and to talk with the people of Iraq, and not then have our own strength and base and deal with the United States and the powers, not by sacrificing. So 2000, we allowed this exim policy, which should have been come to 2003, 2004, because to please Clinton, isn't it? Otherwise this import would have taken place now. The way we are suffering in South India, because all the cash crops are being, I don't want to go into all that, because to please Clinton. We cannot be just puppet to another country. Sir, somebody said we should have sent our...
Please conclude.
We should have sent our troops to Iraq. We should have taken our people, say, to election. What type of election will take place in the United States? Kofi Annan is quoted. Who was Kofi Annan? Was he respected by the United States? It was not with the sanction of United Nations, America went to Iraq. Colin Powell addressed United Nations and convinced them Iraq have WMD. And after now what they say? There is no WMD. United Nations is taken for a ride. United Nations is used as a tool by the United States to discipline other countries, to their own use. So we have to have our own policy, independent policy, based with strength, and we have to unite all those forces who are fighting money, who don't want to accept these imperialistic postures, and we have to lead them once again. We cannot accept that America is unipolar force. If America is unipolar force, I think India can create a force of world opinion, and before the world opinion, we can have an independent policy. Thank you, sir.
Shri Ramdas Athavale, absent.
Sri MP Virendra Kumar.
Sir, in the list, there is no feasibility, you said. From London go to Wayanad and Nelambo. Now, Vallarpadu terminal is coming in question. And this rail passes three states, Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu.
Yes,
shortest route to Kochi. Now, can you reconsider, after the Vallarpadam is coming, that this route must re-examine against the sure side it's going to be a very feasible route. Can you reconsider that, sir?
Yes.
We will examine on merits of the case.
Okay, Srimati Manika Gandhi.
Sir, this question is actually, it's not directly involved, but I would like your permission to ask it. Pilibhit.
MP Virendra Kumar.
We have the statement of the minister, which also says that the entire situation providing the plantation belt is depressing. And one or two comments about the 500 crores which has been set apart to help the farmers of coffee plantation area. Our own experience is not a single paisa is percolated to the growers. And the growers are in such a state where the coffee growing and pepper growing areas and also Arakanat, the highest number of suicides are listed. So here is now a report. I want to bring the notice of the Honorable Minister. It came in Hindu on 12th December 2004, written by Sainath. I only want to say one more thing, how to impress upon the House how the depressed condition is. Weddings are far fewer than they were just 5 years ago. This is in Pulpalli, Mullankolli area, which produces the best pepper in the world. Malabar pepper, the depressing situation. And one more. This is a quote from a farmer. Last year, we got 50,000 from 90 acres, where we used to get 20 lakhs from the same area. So this is the disparity of income. So I'm coming to the point, coffee now. There is a coffee board which is supposed to help the farmers and also to see the domestic market goes up, because we are producing coffee mainly to export. Now there is a decline in international market, the prices. We have to push the domestic market. What the steps have been taken? There's such a large scope in India to enlarge the domestic market. Nothing has been done so far. So regarding tea, it affects Karnataka, coffee affects Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and also Orissa in some of the parts of Orissa, where they are producing Robusta coffee, and some Andhra also. Andhra also have some coffee. All these areas affected by coffee growers. It's a very, very serious situation. And in our state, 100% of the 99% of the farmers only 1.5 hectares of land. There are very few farmers. In my district, there's 100,000 small farmers, all coffee growing farmers. They are in distress. They are committing suicide. In my own district, highest percentage suicide in Kerala, 160 in the last 1 or 2 years. I don't want to go more than tea.
Yes.
Sir, tea, it was bought Vasudeva Acharya about that issue here you answered. The tea is being imported. And you say it's only a minimal amount, and value is added. And what is the value added to the tea? And how many plantations are closed? In Bengal, sir, in your own state, sir, so many plantations closed. In my own way, on Padur estate, thousands of acres, and Assam Brook is still closed, not open. That is the story of tea plantation. Now coming to pepper, sir.
Yes.
Sir, pepper, you said the import. So we take Sri Lanka, we must have very good relationship with the neighbor country. Absolutely no doubt about it. Sir, what is the person FTA? We have to honor the agreement with our neighbors, relation with the neighbor, whatever our own states.
Yes.
In India, sir, in Sri Lanka, the total pepper production is about 8,000 tons. They consume about 4,500 tons. The only balance they have for export must be around 2,500, 3,000 tons. What has been the export? 600% increase in the import from Sri Lanka for zero duty. Sir, I am closing, sir. 80,000 tons of pepper is lying here. Only 20,000 tons is being exported, 60,000 tons is here, and 16,000 tons are already imported. What will you do with all the pepper? We have to find the market. How can you find the market? You go on importing pepper, you cannot export pepper. What is the value add, sir? One more point, sir. Malabar garbled. From Vietnam and other places, inferior quality pepper is coming through free trade area, especially Ceylon, Colombo. What is happening? You are adding Malabar garbled pepper. More superior variety of pepper. When Vasco da Gama came to Malabar, he took that to Portuguese. So 1948, for 3/4 of the ton, price was 4,500 rupees. That pepper is added to the inferior pepper and exported as Indian pepper. We are losing the entire niche into the foreign market. In Europe or wherever we are exporting, they say this inferior variety we are exporting now, by mixing of the best variety of pepper, what we are doing, we are destroying our foreign market, our niche. Sir, on geographical indicator basis, I'm coming to close, Speaker.
Yes,
on geography, can't we take the geographical indicator factor and have some regulations about it? We are having a Malabar pepper, don't you think it should be protected? Without protecting our own industry, our own people, our own farmers. Sir, what is the great import we are making? What's the great relationship with them? I think we have to make the relationship with our own people much better. So my question is this. I put my question to the Honorable Minister. Here it is. Here it is. Sir, I would like to have some point of clarification, but
yes,
very brief.
Please.
Whether the government is ready to review the concessional duty regime. Is the government ready to impose quantitative restrictions on pepper import from Sri Lanka? What are the steps the government is going to take for the strict implementation of rule of origin? Is the government ready to change the policy regarding concessional import for re-export in order to help the farmers? Is there any other safeguard measures available in the agreement in order to protect the farmers? Two more questions, sir. Is there any strategy to boost export of agricultural commodities? Is the government ready to announce a package for the revival of agriculture? Is last. What about the geographical indicator and protecting Malabar garbled pepper? And so all what happened is export to Arakanat and also cardamom. 31,000 of Arakan tons you are importing, and you say prices are crumbling. When the prices are crumbling, we have to protect our own farmers and see that the entire policy is reviewed. Thank you, sir.
There are two honorable members I wish to give opportunity, provided you are very specific. Please make an effort to be specific and brief. Sri Radhakrishnan, if it is possible, yes.
So the statement given by the minister is not in any way related to ground realities. Now the primary...
Put a clarification, no preface, please.
The vital question is market stability.
Thank you, sir. Next, Shri MP Virendra Kumar ji.
Thank you, Deputy.
2 minutes ही लें तो अच्छा है.
First of all, I congratulate the minister.
You are most senior man, honorable member, and you should give only suggestion.
I won't talk much.
You should give only suggestion.
That's all. For bringing this bill, I want to make one comment when the opposition, when the honorable member talked about Kerala. Remember Kerala with this instance. During the Quit India movement, one Bakam Abdul Qadir was hung by Britishers. He wrote prior to his execution, day prior, Mother, this country will get independence one day. And I will be hung, I will be dead, but my Hindu brothers will look after him. There's history in Kerala like that also. We talk of Kerala, talk of Bakam Abdul Qadir, who is our Bhagat Singh. Sir, the purpose of the bill is to give some respect and also opportunity for the minorities which are neglected. And I think in a democracy, social justice must be for all. And to meet social justice, the last link of the chain must be strengthened. So the minorities are the concerns of our society. It's a plural society. I don't want to go much to it. Sir, I generally welcome this bill, my party. But one or two small points I have to make. This bill should never be allowed to be exploited by mercenaries or those people who who want to use it for commercial purposes. So any individual can start a college or tutorial or whatever it is, and he can get affiliated, or he can run it on a binam. Yes, my friend Sebastian Paul talked yesterday about it. And if such things are allowed, the whole purpose will be hijacked. And also, in Kerala, there are wonderful institutions run by church. P.K. Vasudeva talked about it. By Muslim institutions like MES, they are doing a wonderful job. Of course, we have some differences with the management and all that. That's a different question. But on the name of minority, anybody coming into the field and saying he's a minority, he can start an institution and just exploit it for commercial purposes. I think that may not help minorities. So one or 2 points. Only one is to define the minority. And so another thing, on the bill it is said, on the one hand, the bill says governing disputes, government decision will be final. On the other hand, bill says the decision cannot be challenged in the courts. I think that would be dangerous. There have to be appeal. Another point is, the bill also says that regarding any dispute between a minority institution and a university, the decision of the commission will be final. Normally, the university takes decisions on affiliation, and UGCs also have a role to play. In this case, sir, if a university refuses to give affiliation to a particular institute, that can be questioned in the commission. I wonder whether this will take away the power of the universities and the UGC. Certain institutions may come up with its own syllabus and mode of examination, ask for affiliation. What would happen in such a situation? Will there be any condition to ensure merit-based admissions, common entrance test, and faculty appointment in these institutions? I think these points have to be looked into. Of course, as one of the honourable members said, in the course of time, I think this bill could be perfected. And regarding the apprehension we had about bypassing the states, because the concurrent education, the concurrent list, the Honourable Minister himself is proposing an amendment. On the basis of the amendment, sir, I don't want to raise that issue anymore. So generally, we welcome this bill, and also I want to say that whenever we talk of minorities, somebody telling the minorities are the danger in this country, it is not so. It's the arrogance of some of the people in the majority which creates the problem for the minorities. So thank you very much.
Shri Alok Kumar Mehta.
माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, आज
M.B. Virendra Kumar.
Sir, thank you for giving me the time. I'm happy that my Honorable Vasudeva Acharya brought this private bill. Sir, it is of great concern what's happening to our social security system. We have no social security system as such. 90% of the agricultural labor or any other sector are unorganized. Sir, I have an experience when I was the labor minister of this country. I tried to bring a legislation bill to give pension and benefits to agricultural labor. I remember I addressed the AITUC meeting, the conference, national conference. I addressed the HMS conference and promised them, it's the endeavor of the government, to legislate, to bring a bill in favor of those labor who are most neglected. I tried my best. A cabinet subcommittee was formed, if I remember right. But I could not move the bill. I called the Labour Ministers' Conference and I pleaded with them, we must have legislation. Only Kerala have that legislation. And I think Bengal also passed a bill, I don't know if it's implemented. There's one in Tripura. In no other state, there is no bill to give any succor the agricultural labor. It's a mindset, so I pleaded with the labor ministers, all the states, I think it must be the 6th or 7th labor ministers conference. I could find out, when you talk of the agricultural labor, the mind is closed. We talk of agriculturalists, but not agricultural labor. And then I understood, it's a mindset. We talk much of the poor people in this country, but we are not prepared to take them to our heart and do something for them. Sir, I also remember some bonded labor were bought from Uttar Pradesh. Some were in a quarry, from a quarry. And Swami Agnivesh got all of them here right in Delhi. And somebody said, why don't I go and visit them? I went with my colleagues and visited them. So I still remember what I saw there. So many women, so many labor, old people, were supposed to quarrying, and one woman was chained. She was chained for 15 years. And she told me, sir, we don't even get 5 rupees a day. And the woman, one sari she had, half of it she washes and wait for the other half to dry. This is the sari she was wearing for 15 years. And when I saw the plight of them, I could understand this is a rural picture of India, in villages. So now I would urge Labour Minister, my friend is here, to seriously consider about this unorganized sector and do something. We talk of globalization, we talk of liberalization. What is happening now? So I don't want to take a long time. Now, what is happening, not only here, everywhere in the world, is to corner the resources. It's not to give succor to poor, to make everything a commodity, to make water a commodity. So would anybody would have believed if somebody said that you should never sell water, the river should never be sold? I read in the Washington Post an advertisement given by Kerala government that Malampura is for sale. We never knew about it. The Kerala people never knew about it. The Washington people knew about it. And Vivendi Corporation, whose head office is right in Paris, they deposited 500 rupees and came to bid for Malampura Dam. And who are the people staying around? Adivasis. So you might have heard a lot of struggle going on for water. The Adivasis and the poor people, the agriculturalists. The Pandits are running in this country saying that water could not be used for agriculture. Sir, right in Plachimara, the place I come from, Palghat, the struggle is going on. This is January 15th, the 1000th day. Adivasi women, they walk 10 to 15 kilometers to bring water. Right under their leg, there is groundwater. 10 TMC of groundwater is there in Palghat, and Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola companies draining out the whole thing every day, 20 lakhs liters of water, and they don't have water. Who will give them water? Who will give them shelter? Who will listen to them? Who will give them shelter? Who will listen to them? We have the ears for multinationals. If something happened, the share market will rush there. But nobody will go to Warangal. Nobody will go to the place I come from where people are committing suicide. Agricultural laborers. So now it is time for us to rethink that there are poor people in this country. Everything is not glittering. I don't want to dwell upon all those subjects because it is relevant here in the sense that every day, day by day, the people who should be looked after by us are turned into victims. The battle and war going on in this country is the battle of victims. They are all become victims of these great grabbers of resources. So in this regard, I want to say, we have enough resources to look after people, to give pension to old people. How much money is, what is the non-performing assets from the industrial sector? How many thousands of crores of rupees are to be given back to the bank? Do you think we are going to get it? We have no compunction in say that's non-performing assets. Come to the agricultural field, even 1,000 crores or 2,000 crores or 4,000 crores NPA is a big issue for us. Where is our thrust? Thrust in the urbanization. In that process, our villages are becoming more and more poor. Sir, in the majority of the villages, day before yesterday, Raghunath Singh ji was holding a discussion with all the MPs. He said crores of people have no lavatory. They have no place to eat. They have to wait till the sun is set so that the women can go to the field and ease themselves out. The great progress we are talking about, we could not provide ample places for the village women to ease out. We are talking that we are glittering and we are just such a big, great country so that we can be very proud of our progress. The progress lies, the test lies, what is happening with the man who is the lowest standard of society.
Yes.
I am closing, sir. Looking from that angle, I think it's a social responsibility. It is a responsibility of the governments, whichever government they are. I talked about my government when I was there. We could not do it. I don't think anybody will do it. But sir, I'll conclude by saying this. Do you think we can ignore these people for a long time? Even the organized political parties are not taking up the issue. There will be other movements in this country. The time have gone, sir, when people are looking for the political parties for the solutions and leadership. I think now the political parties have to go to the people and draw their agenda. The agenda is drawn right down. We can say some people are taking up arms somewhere, some people are struggling. We can talk of law and order problem. It is not a law and order problem. It's a battle to live. Sir, one more point I'll conclude. Take my village, sir. I come from Wayanad. There's a village known as Pulpalli. So they had, in the small village, about 500 vehicles. That was the affluence they had. Now all those people at the vehicles are going for free ration. The whole area is devastated. Nothing is. They're committing suicide. Sir, from suicide to terrorism, what is the distance? I'm closing, sir. A man has decided to die because of poverty. He cannot pay his dues, debts. Anyway, he's dying. Why don't you think he should be more violent about himself? Suppose 50 people in that area become violent, will the district survive? From suicide to terrorism is only a the distance is not much. So slowly, people are realizing that they are neglected. So unless we take it seriously, let us not try the patience of the people. They will rise one day. So I request Vasudeva Acharya's bill has brought it. It should open our eyes to go into the social problems, economic problems, much, much deeper. And not to say that poor people, the liability of this country, the population of this country is the main backbone of this country. So to give them succor, we have to have a social security system. I congratulate Vasudeva Acharya for bringing this bill. And I urge upon the Labour Minister to think of agriculture labor. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Sri Raghunath Singh, he is to intervene. Yes.